Hi there. Let's talk about, is it possible for us to reverse type 2 diabetes? Can that happen? I'm Donna Denson, the Dynamic Diabetic, and I want to explore that with you today. I've been doing a lot of reading and searching for answers because I'm a type 2 diabetic, and I'm sure you've been looking for answers too. And I think we've been told some things that aren't really true. We've been told that diabetes has to be chronic. That, once you're a diabetic, you're always a diabetic. You're taking the medicine, you're going to always have to take the medicine. No, I don't think that's true. We've been told that calories and overeating leads to diabetes and weight gain. It can, but I don't think it's the only culprit. We've been told that a calorie is a calorie, that they're all the same. Well, I don't think that's true either. And we're told that the fat you eat is the fat you wear. I'm not buying that one. And that we are told that fat causes insulin resistance and diabetes. I'm disagreeing. And we're also told that you need carbs to live. You should eat carbs. What if I told you that all that is wrong, or at least questionable? What if we could do better by not listening to those old thinking outlooks? What if diabetes is the result of disease, and the disease is insulin resistance? We are treating the symptoms of what we're calling diabetes that are actually what we're trying to do because we have insulin resistance. So doctors tell us it's all our fault, the choices we make, the lifestyle we live, and so we feel shame and guilt and often outright discrimination. But what if the advice we're being given doesn't make us well, but makes us sicker? There's lots of new thinking out there. I'm not telling you to ignore your doctor or you don't take your medicine or anything like that. But I want to discuss with you today what you might want to research and figure out for yourself if what you're doing is the best thing for you. Back in the 1920s, you might be interested to know that insulin was used to help people gain weight. Yeah, gain weight. So when our doctors give us insulin, they know that it's going to cause us to gain weight and store fat. When I started having to take insulin, I was using it in my midriff. And I noticed I was getting knots, hard places, and then it was growing. And I used to laugh and say, hey, it's like I'm having a baby. I got this tire around my middle that won't go away. And one day, my general practitioner told me, well, that's from your insulin. I said, what do you mean, from my insulin? And she said, yeah, insulin causes that. My endocrinologist never told me that. I was really surprised. But I learned the higher the insulin we take, guess what? The more insulin resistant we are and the more fat we store. Insulin makes us hungry and it makes us store fat. So, I want to talk a little bit about the ADA, the American Diabetes Association. They have told us that calories, fat foods, and sugar cause diabetes. But actually, glucose, excess glucose, causes diabetes because it causes our insulin to rise. and to help get the glucose through our bloodstream into our cells, and we become resistant and we have to have more insulin because we have the glucose. The ADA recommends that you eat 40 to 60 grams of carbohydrates at a meal plus snacks. That's over 200 carbs a day. That's a lot of carbs. When we eat carbs, like they tell us, okay, we eat them, our blood glucose rises, which forces us to need more insulin, which forces us to eat sometimes to counteract the medicine we're taking. We're in a vicious circle, and we're storing fat because of all of it. The higher the insulin resistance. We are definitely in a vicious circle. So, our doctors, when our sugar's high, they give us more insulin. And it's only making us worse. They're giving us what's caused our problem. It's like giving an alcoholic alcohol. It's only making it worse. I think the ADA is wrong. I think the thinking was probably well accepted at the time, but it's been a while, a good while. I think cutting carbs, reducing the glucose will reduce the insulin need, which will reduce the insulin resistance. When they say you need to eat carbs, guys, we need some things. Essential amino acids, essential fatty acids, but we don't need carbs. We can live just fine without them. Our body does not have to have them, and it sure doesn't have to have over 200 carbs a day. A couple of decades ago, we had a huge fat experiment. The thinking was fat is causing you fat. Okay, so manufacturers rushed to take the fat out of our food, to make it low fat or no fat. But fat tastes good. So when they took it out, they had to put something else in. And all those something else's, they're hurting us. And there's absolutely no evidence out there that fat causes fat. You can even look at cows. Okay, let's look at cows. And one is fed with grain and one is fed grass-fed. If you look at the steak they produce, the one that's eating the grain, it's got all this fat in their muscle. Okay, but that's supposed to be a better thing. And the one who's eating grass, well, it's turning to fat in their stomach. But when you look at their steak, hardly any fat. Guys, that myth that a calorie is a calorie, it's got to be all wrong. Think about it. When you eat carbs, your blood sugar rises, right? When you eat protein, it has very little effect on your blood sugar. When you eat fat, it has no effect on your blood sugar. There is no real proof that fat causes fat. And that's what the whole experiment was based on. Fat causes fat. So guys, there's so much that we have been told, that we believe, that we have tried to work with and around, that just might not be true. And guys, there's a whole lot more money in us being sick than there is in us being well. There's so much conflict of interest out there. We need to do our own research. We need to do our own thinking. We need to determine if we can make a difference. Now, I'm talking to type 2 diabetics because type 1, that's a whole different thing. But type 2 diabetics, I believe, can get control of their numbers and they can keep control. I invite you to stay tuned. We'll talk more about this in another video, but do your research. Start looking at the different thinking that's out there. This was a pretty serious conversation. I apologize for all the seriousness, but it's a serious topic for me, and I'm sure it is for you too. This is Donna Denson, the Dynamic Diabetic. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't joined my free Facebook group, please do. I'd love to support you there. I do a diabetic minute every day. There's information on that below as well. I look forward to seeing you again. May God bless and keep you till we connect again. Bye-bye.